Now then, people, good evening and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It's refreshing to see so many of you waiting there patiently in the chat. I did say to you, it's the international break. The content will continue, but unfortunately, YouTube, it's almost like they decide to turn it off and say, don't watch football anymore. The international break's on because we all see a gradual dip during the break. So thank you all for being here. And yeah, I can understand. Well, you're not even here for me, I don't think. You're here for the amazing, the fantastic Mr. Benjamin Bloom, no doubt. Look, we have only played 4 games of the championship season, but it's the international break. I thought we could check in with Ben and find out what he's made to the opening 4 games of the season. And I think it's perfect time to do it during the international break. But before we get into it, let me welcome Ben. Ben, how are you, my man?
I'm good, man, but there's something I need to get off my chest before the football. Why have you got a jet wash in the back of your... Lots of people, they position nice... Like I got a photo of my late grandfather there. I got a Blue Monday teddy, and you got a jet wash, mate. What's going on?
Yeah. So basically, during the transfer window, I got sent so many pictures of flights and flight tracking.
Okay.
And it actually frustrated me, like, because I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, and I would get mentioned, Joe, have you seen this flight? Have you seen that flight? So I said on a show once, you jet washers, meaning jet watchers, but I said, you do me tits in. You need to stop sending them there. And then we became like everyone's saying, jet washers assemble, jet washers unite. So then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to stick it in the background. So I just had a bit of fun with it.
There's a Leeds United related story. I just thought you'd been doing the windows or the patio or something. Just left it there. Yeah. Oh, nice.
These people that track these flights though and sending me, honestly, Ben, what am I looking at? Like, I don't know.
Can I ask you, Joe? Are you someone who enjoys the transfer speculation, or are you like a little bit OCD like me? And it's like, show me the guy holding the shirt and then we can talk about them then.
No, I quite enjoy it, I think. But by the end of it, Ben, I was done. I was like, please end now. Like, I have now structure to my day again. I can look at it and say, right, I've got Ben there at 8 o'clock. Then I can chill, go to bed. And then tomorrow, right, I've got a video there at 6. Whereas the transfer window, it's just like...
I've got Leeds penciled in to sell another one of their star players on August the 5th.
Yeah. Exactly. So it was quite tumultuous as a Leeds United fan this summer as well.
Right.
I didn't expect it. I didn't expect us to lose as much as we did. And then the 49ers said, oh, well, Gray was a big hit for me. I had a signed Gray shirt. I had a picture of Rutter there. They've both had to go now because they're both in the Premier League. So, yeah, it's been quite a rough time. I mean, you on the other hand, in the Premier League, it's nice to see all them shiny new toys in the Premier League. Surely you've made some right signings.
Mate, I went to Portman Road, and I'd like to think I'm a knowledgeable guy. I looked down at our subs, and I didn't know who some of them were. Who's that guy? Oh, he's a Swedish international, isn't he? But yeah, it's different world, mate. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But we're talking championship.
Yes,
today,
we are. Yes,
we'll annoy everybody if we go down that road.
Yeah. Let's get stuck into it. So what I wanted to do, Ben, is just a few of my standout topics that I wanted to discuss really and get your opinion on, because I know a lot of my chat are saying, well, what about Sunderland? What about this team? So I thought, what better person to speak to than yourself, who can give us a little bit more meat on the bones when it comes to certain players and stuff. So I wanted to start with Sunderland, because Sunderland are the early pace setters, top of the division. Reggie Lebree's come in. They've lost Jack Clark. They've got a very young squad. But they're smashing it out of the park, and quite a surprise. I think one person, you've got to give him his flowers, Gabriel Sutton, had them top of the league.
I was on a show with him for some podcast thing, and I was laughing at him.
Yeah, exactly. So they did. I've seen so many of the meme that Farage mean, you all laughed at me, but you're not laughing now, are you?
Fair play, Gab.
Yeah, fair play. What have you made to Sunderland then?
With what I've just said, just a massive surprise, because I think when we've discussed it before, Joe, it was very much they threw the towel in last season. They made a mistake getting rid of Tony Mowbray, and Mick Beale, that was obviously terrible. And then like with 18 games to the season's end, they basically didn't hire anyone, and then we're assuming that Reggie Labrie is the fifth choice, and that's not going to be any good. And I think I was saying on my pre-season, this is a 2-3 year project, get this young squad going. Look, I mean, somebody there, the professor, surely Sunderland don't sustain. That's one theory, isn't it? That this is just one of those hot starts. Everyone will remember.
We said that about you, though, didn't we? We did say that about you. Then on the flip side, there was Preston, weren't there?
Great example. I was going to say Reading. When you were up in the Premier League, Reading literally, I think they won 2 of the first 3, and all the fans are giving me the big and you got your predictions wrong, and they got relegated. So I'm not saying Sunderland are going to get relegated. So it would sound like I'm stating the bleeding obvious here, Joe. But one of two things is going to happen: either Sunderland are going to be a bit of a surprise package, and I mean, surely, as the professor says there in the chat, surely they're not a top 2 team come up, mate, but they could sustain and be near the top of the table, or this is an outlier.
Yeah,
and they will regress to the mean. But I think you've just got to doff your cap when a new manager comes with a young squad, 4 for 4, and they hadn't conceded a goal until the end of the last game either, hadn't they? No. So I think you just have to say, look, whatever happens, they've had an amazing start. And do I think they're going to be first in 10 games' time? No, but you make a great point about maybe Ipswich last year, and are they more Ipswich than Preston? Yeah, I don't know. I think they'll fall away, but it'd be a hell of a story if they didn't.
No, true. They've got some great young players as well. Obviously, Chris Rigg's doing bit in midfield. The 2 fullbacks, Trey Hume and Sirkin, I think it is. Joe Bellingham as well. He's very good at this level. So it'll be interesting to see. I have a friend who watches a lot of European football, and he did say to me that Reggie Labrie's sides have a tendency to do this in terms of starting like a house on fire, but it's whether or not you can maintain them levels through the course of the season. So I guess time will tell on Sunderland, but it's been a hot start for them, hasn't it? It's been a really, really good start. I did want to talk to you about the first year parachute payment teams, because after watching Burnley in that first game against Luton where they wiped them off the park, I'm like, oh my God, this Burnley looked totally different. Like, I didn't think Parker had that style of performance in his locker. And then obviously since then they've lost a lot of players and results maybe haven't gone as well as they first envisaged. We've had Luton and Rob Edwards who were in the relegation zone, which no one expected. And then you've got Sheffield United as well, which, looking at their 11, Ben, it's really good. But I had actually look at their bench, and it is so poor. And I think they are a couple of injuries away from a bit of a nightmare. So I just wanted to get your opinion on them, because all I have in my mind is Leeds United and how are we going to win this league? How are we going to get out of it? And one of the big things last season was the level of opposition that were at the top of the table was like never seen before. We had 3 teams on 90. Southampton were only 3 points off 90. They got 87. I look at them 3 teams and I think I'm not seeing that from either of them. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but the jury's still out on them 3. I don't know what your thoughts are.
We discussed this, haven't we, Joe? That Leeds United could score 5 points less this season than last season and be 10 points ahead of everybody else, just because of how ridiculous it was last year. So Burnley, I would give some mitigation to you mentioned it, the transfer window's been mental for them. That's
like Leeds last season, weren't it? Really, it was like selling everybody leaving, Mike.
Well, and they had arguably an even more. I mean, you would say about. I mean, you'd know better than me, but you'd say about Leeds, it wasn't necessarily bloated, but they'd overpaid for a few players, and it was going to be hard to get rid of them. Some silly contracts. We've done that to death. Whereas Burnley had like 40 players, and you almost they'd sold a few, and you're like, okay, they need to sell another 3-4 of these, and they've still bought quite a few in. So I must admit, Joe, I did watch the first 2 games of Burnley. It was like 4-1 and 5-0. You're like, oh, hello, 100 points coming. But no, just tailed off. And I think you can go through the league, Joe, and some of the teams you can say didn't want the international break to come. Leeds could have probably happily played right through now, couldn't they? Burnley need the international break, just sort this out. So I'll plead the 5th. We know the quality's there. Do I see them as a 90-point team? I'm not sure.
Sheffield United, just to jump in on Burnley, last weekend, was it? They played Sunderland, I think. I think it was last weekend. They got beat. And I live in the northeast, and I just got back from taking the little one to the museum, and I was on the metro, and it stops at Stadium of Light, and about 5 lads got on. Anyway, it turns out they were Burnley fans, and we got chatting anyway, and they told me like the style of play, what they've got. These were the words: "We're rubbish." You know, Jay Rodriguez has been given another year. He's on 40 grand a week. We're rubbish. I don't know if. I don't know. I look at their business as well, and I know we had Anthony Hannibal and your man Sarmiento, which did well at your place, but it just all smacks of a champ. I know they're in the championship, but I don't know.
It smacks of get promoted this season with a year one parachute payment at all costs, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know if Parker. To be honest, I have said that they'll go up second to us just because of Parker. I don't see them winning the league, but Parker always has a tendency to get his teams over the line without being amazing in this division, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Parker's seasons have always skewed better in the first few months, and they've always had a good total on the board at, say, the end of November with Fulham and Bournemouth particularly. So I wonder whether we might see that, a good streak coming up through the next 2 international breaks. But yeah, very mixed so far with the 2 big wins and then 2 without a win. But Sheffield United, yeah, and I mean, you were talking about my podcast with Sam Parker, and he's been very high on Sheffield United from the start. And what you just said actually is very true to them, that their first team is real championship. You know, a lot of boys in there that will get you promoted. And I don't know about you, I think Chris Wilder looks a bit more like his old self now. He's a bit more aggressive and whatnot.
He's already started giving it the big one in the press to Leeds United, and I was going, don't get involved, because the last time we did this, he won the war. So just leave him alone. Let him do himself.
Yeah. So you make a good point about, you know, that if there are a few injuries away, and I mean, arguably most squads would struggle with a few injuries in the Championship, but I know what you're saying about Sheffield United. But it's been a good start, and you know, they are proven. Hamer and Ahmed Odzic and O'Hare and Kiefer Moore, and
even the lonely Raksaki.
He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, Alfie Gilchrist at right back from Chelsea and stuff. They do look.
But you're right. They need 30 to 40 games out of 8 of those players, don't they? I think I agree with you. And Luton's that's a surprise to me. Luton. The one thing you can do, Joe, is you can argue it that they've had some weird performances where the numbers don't quite. Like they had loads of shots against Preston and could have won. Same against QPR the other night. I covered that game, and they could easily have won that game. Okay, Burnley, they got outclassed on the opening day, and then they had a 0-0 where the keeper got sent off after 10 minutes. So I can sit here and make a load of arguments to say that, you know, is that data a bit dodgy? But the fact is the data has Luton 23rd in the table with 0 wins, and they're making loads of chances and not taking any of them. So you would think Luton will right itself. But if I'm a Leeds fan and I've already put 7 points on Luton by the first international break, I'm kind of like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to have that little gap, and we're going to talk Leeds now, because I'd asked for, like, my hope was that Leeds United just had a better August than last season, because I feel that was a big reason as to why we didn't go up. I don't think we got our first win until we played you guys, and you know, we'd struggled up to that point, hadn't had clean sheets, whereas that's been different this time around. And I do look at them 3 relegated sides and say, well, we're above them all. And, you know, we've played 1 month. If we continue in this vein, we'll do all right. What have you made to Leeds United? Have you seen much of them? Obviously, we played Chef Wednesday, beat Danny Rose Chef Wednesday, which I know they haven't had a great start. Obviously, we beat Hull City as well. And the transfer window in the end, although it was tumultuous and had its ups and downs, we've done really well. I mean, Manor Solomon coming in on loan from Spurs, he had a great debut and got an assist on his debut. Tanaka, there's a host of new players coming, Ramazani, but I think the best bit about it is we've got continuity. You know, I know we've lost some of them, I know we've lost Rutter, but the spine is relatively the same lads that were here last season. And Mateo Joseph started really well, got his first goal in the league this weekend as well. So happy days.
I mean, it's not been ideal, has it? If I could have told you the 3 lads, or if you include Kamara, the 4 lads that have gone out, but the big ones, Somerville and Ruter and Gray, if I'd have said to you, right, Joe, you've got to sell those players, you would have said, okay, but I want it done within 1 week of the season and get it done. So that's not been ideal. And I've got to say, a lot of your fans lost their heads after the Middlesbrough EFL Cup game. And I remember I had to do a tweet for somebody, and it was, who are your 4 teams to win the leagues? And I was like, I predicted Leeds to win the league, and we were 2 games in. So I said, my 4 teams are whoever, Man City, Leeds, whoever, Birmingham, and can't remember, Bradford or something like that. I got quite a few Leeds fans saying, what are you doing, Ben? We're terrible. We're awful. We're going to hell in a handbasket here. And my take was, calm down. You've raised a hell of a lot of money. And unless we're going to see some criminal ownership, literally criminal ownership, because why would you raise all that money and then not bring in players? Unless we're going to see something absurd like that, then you're going to sign some players and you're going to be okay. And I won't slap myself on the back. I was completely right, wasn't I? And obviously, Somerville was exceptional, wasn't he? And Ruter was really good fun. And you're not going to get, the exact replacements. I think the recruitment's good. And when I watched the game against Sheffield Wednesday, I thought that looked a lot like the Leeds side that had long winning streaks last season and controlled games and were just better than 80% of the championship last season. They looked really comfortable. And yet again, as much as some Leeds fans are suspicious about Daniel Farke, yet again, that bloke is banging out 2 points per game in the championship. And as I've already said in this show, Joe, you could score, let's even take it lower than 85 points. You could score 82 points and be, 10 off 2 per game and
still do it.
It's not, surely, for years, it's not going to be like it was last season. So I would be very happy the transfer window is closed and what's done is done. And I get the skepticism sometimes, but this guy piles the points on in the championship. He just always does.
Yeah. It annoys people every time, but I'll just lift up the imaginary 90-point trophy that they all hammer me for celebrating. But the last 3 completed seasons under Farke, he's got 90-plus points. That's 2 at Norwich, 1 at Leeds. And it won't surprise me if it's a 4th, to be honest. I'm really, really confident about how we're going. I mean, I'm always confident, even if it's bad. So I don't know if I'm the right barometer for how we'll do. But
Joe, people mock you for that, but I think they're silly to mock you. And I know I'm your mate, and I would disagree with you if I disagreed with you. But if you have a 100-meter sprinter and he runs the fastest time he's ever run in his life and breaks his personal record in the Olympic final and finishes 4th and doesn't win a medal, is he a failure? No, he ran the fastest time he's ever run in his blooming life and was maybe just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that's old ground. But I don't agree with this 90-point trophy thing. And I think you've got to look at that with more nuance than that. And if you've got fans mocking a manager for scoring 90 points in a 46 game season, then I suggest they go and watch videos of Barcelona 2009, and that's the only football they ever watch, basically.
It's so true, mate. You've got Hey, talking of managers smashing it out of the park, I wanted to talk about Carlos Corberan, and his continued success at clubs that don't have a lot to spend, and he's got West Brom in 6th now. I think he just knows this division. I liken him a lot to Farke, because what I thought was quite interesting is when we played them 2 and a bit weeks ago now, both teams, it's like they didn't, I think they were just both very happy to not concede and get a point each, because he was very glowing about us after Farke did something similar. And I just think, like, having experience of Corberan probably looks at Leeds coming to town and goes, right, let's just get a clean sheet or let's get a point and move on. And I think Farke's very much the same. He'll say that's a valuable point come the end of the season. But again, Corberan, not an ideal summer, I don't think. They don't have much money. He did the same at Huddersfield. you know, I've actually seen now. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I know Leicester were linked. And my good friend Mike, who's an Everton fan, I seen him tweeting the other day saying, "Bring me Corberan." So I
Yeah.
think he's starting to get a lot more flowers now because he continues to do it over and over. And it's amazing. Second in the league. I know it's early doors, but they're going to be there or thereabouts again, aren't they, in the top 6, you'd imagine?
Yeah, and I had them regressing, Joe. I thought, okay, parachutes have run out, ownership's changed, but there's some issues still, from the old ones and stuff, maybe some stuff to pay off and maybe some books to balance up over the 3-year loss limits. But yeah, he just so clever, isn't he? And I love how he adapts to wherever he is. I think there's an argument, given that he doesn't have Elland Road or the Leeds United squad, or maybe the Oxford manager's got a bit of a shout given where they are in the league. But there's an argument that he's just the best performing manager in the league. And I just had a look, Joe. Portsmouth, Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, the next 3 games, so they could stick another 6 points on there, possibly more. And it's a really nice start. I mean, you could argue, other than the game against you, but they did get you at peak meltdown time, didn't they? So got you at a good time, but all right fixtures to start with. But he just does the job, doesn't he?
He's crazy.
I don't have it as an automatic challenge, but
No.
I didn't have Huddersfield finishing 3rd in the Championship under him either.
You do think if you took him out and he went to another job, that West Brom would be nowhere near where they are?
They would be lower in the table, I agree.
Yeah. Much lower. Do you think he ever will get given a job that has funds or gets a crack at the Premier League? Or will it be a case of him having to get promoted out of it? I think he should as well, to be fair.
You'd imagine it wouldn't be fanciful for him to get one of the parachute teams at some point. He gets linked. I don't think the thing where he went from, because he walked out of Huddersfield and then he got the other club that the Forest guy owns in
Olympiacos, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Didn't go well, did it? No.
Someone will say in the chat, but I think he could, if you can't get a Premier League job, get a parachute job and get promoted to the Premier League. And I don't think he's constantly just around the playoffs, so he could get there himself, couldn't he?
100% he could. Another team that were in and around the playoffs towards the back end, but again, have had a poor start, and I picked them to go well this season. I mean, they still might. There's a long way to go. The Championship's wild, but Coventry City, again, I mean, they've got some great players, great forward line, but still find themselves towards the bottom end of the table. What have you made to that, Ben? Because I think I put them and at the start of the season, I remember saying them and Middlesbrough and Sheff Wednesday were the ones for me. Obviously, Sheff Wednesday gone, but Middlesbrough have had a decent start, whereas Coventry have done what they did last season and had a pretty poor start again.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, because there's no excuse. I mean, there was one season where the pitch wasn't ready or something. They had to play like 8 away games out of the first 10, and they had an excuse. And then last season, obviously, they had 2 exceptional players that had carried them the previous year, and they sold both of them. So they've just not really got any excuses yet, apart from Ben Sheaf, who's an excellent midfielder, hasn't been fit and been playing yet. But you're totally right, Joe. They're really, other than the parachute teams, they're the most stocked up in terms of good players and good squad. And they've got the most tenured manager with the longest kind of run there. I don't know. Part of me always feels with Mark Robins, he should just let loose, because it's always kind of low scoring and quite cautious, isn't it? And maybe that's the reason why they grow into the season. I don't know, but yeah, I think as much as he's done an amazing job to get them up, League 2, League 1, Championship, playoff final, lost on penalties, sudden death. I don't think the Coventry fans will be happy if they're not in the top 10 this season and challenging for the playoffs. But he doesn't normally get it wrong, so I'd imagine they'll move up. But I think you've got PTSD from last year where you're saying don't give anyone any advantage even in August or September. But I think they'll move through the gears at some point.
What about Cleverley at Watford? Because I didn't expect them. I know it's early and it feels daft doing this. I know they got beat by Sheffield United, but it was only 1-0. I didn't think. I mean, they've made. I think they got Ogbonna in, didn't they? Sissoko, players at the twilight end of their career, probably have played with Cleverley, and he's maybe, give him a call in at some point. Do you think that that's going to be successful over the course of the season, or will it be a case of just reverting back to the norm, or could they push?
No, I don't think they will. I think
No.
that my Watford friends were not confident at the start of the season, and yet, okay, the win against Stoke was impressive, but opening day they had a crazy one against Millwall where they win 3-2 late on. Played Derby, just promoted up from League One at home. Played Rooney's Plymouth, and although that was in the League Cup and beat them, so I am expecting what you suggest, and they're going to move towards the middle of the table, and they've just had a hot start that I don't think will sustain. But anytime I predict that, I'm very happy to be wrong, and I hope everybody has a wonderful season and everybody finishes in the top 6, all 24 teams, Joe.
Do you know what? I nearly forgot. I nearly forgot the man himself, Mr. Wayne Rooney at Plymouth, until you just mentioned him there.
Wazza.
Yeah. It's not going well, is it? Still no wins on the board, 2 points. Is it inevitable that he'll be sacked, or do you think I think.
Well, can I flip the question, Joe? Where did you expect Plymouth to be? Even without Wayne Rooney, and it wouldn't be far away.
Too far from where? No, that's a very good point. Did they keep Whittaker in the end? They did, didn't they?
Yeah. So they've got the lowest attacking XG in the league, Joe. So they could do with Whittaker cutting in off the side and smashing a few in from 25 yards. Part of me, the contrarian part of me, just wants him to do well because everybody is just assuming that he's terrible and he's going to fail. And I loved him. So I know you have a thing about Man United players. You got to admit that guy was an absolute bloody.
And do you know what? I actually like Wayne Rooney, the man. I like Wayne Rooney, the man, because whenever I see him on podcasts, he just makes me laugh. I think he's just a normal guy. He's a normal guy that was just unbelievably talented at football. He's just just a normal dude you would see round the corner, in my opinion. Anyway, there was a video of him singing karaoke, weren't they, in a pub in Plymouth the other week, which I thought was brilliant. So, I hear you. I shouldn't like him, but outside of football, I do. But I just think after that, what was it, that first game where they got slapped up 4-0 by Wednesday?
Oh, Joe, listen to this. Next 4 games, Sunderland, West Brom away, Luton, and Burnley.
Oh,
so they got 2 year 1 parachute teams in the top 2. So they could be 0 wins at game 7, which is not helpful for Wazza, is it?
No. And the bottom 3 now is made up of teams that were here last season, bar Luton. Do you think that your Derby, your Oxford and Portsmouth can give it a real fist of staying up?
It's difficult because you get seduced by it, Joe, because they, without fail, they skew their points per game skews in August and September because of the momentum from
getting
the
promoted
previous,
and stuff.
getting promoted. So, Oxford have done brilliant to get those 2 wins on the board. And what I do like about Oxford is, I can tell you exactly what they're going to do at Elland Road, whether it works or not, and they can withstand the 25 shots they're going to give up and score one of their 2 shots. But they're pretty ruthless when they attack, and they seem pretty well coached. Derby look like they might pick up a few points at Pride Park this season. Pompey are without a win, and the other 2 have got 2 between them. So it's so predictable to say, but it's predictable because it's true that you'd imagine them all gravitating towards the bottom 3. And you look at Plymouth last season. Plymouth survived on the points they scored in first 15 games, didn't they? And by any metric, I don't know, game that the last 30 games, the last 25 games, they're down, aren't they? But pad that points total and ride that momentum out from the previous season, I think.
Yeah, that Portsmouth team, when we played them on the opening game, I know they score with barely any XG and all that sort of stuff. They score 3 at Elland Road, but that first 10 minutes, they look shell-shocked. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a cricket score. And then Leeds let them back into the game, and we did what we do in them scenarios, fault a bits ourselves. But yeah, I do think when that, I was like, bloody hell, these are rubbish. I didn't realise they didn't have a win, though. So is it just, because they got a point against us, so just three draws for them in the opening 4.
To be fair, they've had horrible fixtures because it was, like you say, it was Leeds away on the opening day. Then they had Luton, which is another parachute team. Middlesbrough, and then Sunderland do a
Yeah.
top. Yeah, exactly. Like Nathan is
further,
saying.
yeah.
Totally agree with him. Yeah.
That is fair. So you said just a second ago, or about 10 minutes ago, that when you were asked to do your tweet, you had Leeds United winning the championship. Are you still sticking by that?
Well, I have to for the time being, don't I? I'll have a look. I mean, let me put it to you, Joe. What has changed since we were making those predictions? And when we made those predictions, Ruter was still there. We knew that. We knew Somerville was gone, didn't we? And we knew Gray was gone. What really has changed is one question to you, and the other one is who's getting the 85 points ish that's going to finish above Leeds then?
Yeah. No. What's changed? I mean, you could argue. Well, the stats back it up. Actually, I've got a video I'm preparing for tomorrow. Everything's up on what it was last season, and I know that's because of the poor start. But the XG against is up or down. Sorry, so we're conceding less chances. Our XG is up based on last season.
Without Somerville.
Without Somerville and Rutter, that's the point as well. I almost feel now, last season wasn't Farke's side. That isn't an excuse for him because anyone would have taken Rutter, Somerville, etc. But this side now is built more in the Daniel Farke image. It's more narrower in the three behind the striker, which is allowing Ferper and Bogle to get wide, which is a lot like Max Aarons and Lewis did at Norwich. So we're seeing a lot more of what you expect from Farke. He's got a better bench now, better depth. He's making changes. Like, at the end of the day, we brought on like Ramazani, who was playing in Almira. I mean, scored in the Bernabeu last season. You're bringing on Pirro, who scored 13. Ilman was starting for Leeds. Now he's on the bench. You're bringing on Tanaka, who's just come from Fortuna Dusseldorf, who looks like a Rolls Royce.
Played him in a pre-season friendly, and everyone was like, "Oh, can we sign that guy?"
Yeah. So I seen Kieran McKenna do a bit where he said, "If we could have any player from them, it would be him." And he actually mentioned it. So you've seen firsthand then what he's about. And I mean, he came on. And in the cameo he had, Ben, he'd made more touches and passes than the whole of the Hull City side. He was just popping up everywhere. Give me the ball, right, move it on. Give me the ball, move it
Joe,
on.
just quickly, give me your... I think we can do the back seven, but what's your front four then? What is your... If you could have a front four, you got to play a playoff semi-final tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who's your Leeds front four?
Joseph starts. Joseph's done really well. Joseph in the 9. Solomon in the left wing, because I think he's a cut above the division. Nonto has to start, probably better off the left, but I would start him off the right. Not seen enough of Ramazani yet. A lot of people would probably put Nonto in the 10 and then have Ramazani on the right, but I'll reserve judgment yet. And then, so Aronson in the 10. He started really well. I predicted he would start well and do well, because he showed flashes in the Championship. He was playing in the Champions League last season. Yes, not great. Did not have a great season. But the Bundesliga and the Champions League is a totally different kettle of fish than when you drop down to the... Like, look at Junior Firpo. Junior Firpo, for me, is one of the best left-backs in this division. And he couldn't bloody kick a ball in the Premier League. It's just such a different standard. So Aronson was bound to do as well. So yeah, sorry, to answer your question, Joseph in the 9, Solomon on the left, Nonto on the right, and Aronson in the 10.
And there's 2 players for each of those positions, is there now? If there's Tanaka...
James, you'll have James, you've got Pirro, you've got James, Pirro, Tanaka, Ramazani,
Pat Bamford.
Pat Bamford, don't get us started on him.
Sorry.
He's injured again, Ben.
I don't want to do this conversation again.
He's injured again.
Yeah, I mean, I was there at Portman Road when it was that frightening one, when it was Peru, Sinistera, Nonto, and Ruter. Obviously, arguably, that's better. But
yes, of course.
But Sinistera was then out the door, and you know, the reality that we live in is you guys don't have those players. So to circle it back, though, it's a very easy argument to make that Leeds would win the championship. Look, to flip it, Joe, you could see Burnley. I could see Burnley doing a run of 8 wins and a draw in 10 games or something, and really putting the hammer down. You can see they've got that. You can see Sheffield United. I'm literally just naming the relegated teams though, and Luton, have they? That doesn't look good so far, does it? And also, Luton didn't go up automatically. Luton went up through the playoffs. It's a big difference.
Didn't they arrive late into the playoffs as well, Ben, that season? I got that wrong.
They did finish third, but it was a season where the door was kind of left wide open, I believe, by the complete failure of Norwich and Watford in their first year down. I think I'm correct about that. And Middlesbrough went on a big run, and Coventry got in there, didn't they? And Luton took third position. So, but what I'm saying is there's a difference between holding in there for 80, 85, 90 points and finishing second and going up through the playoffs. And mate, I love Luton. They've been absolutely amazing what they've done. But, do they, with a poor start and loads of expectations on them now, do they have what it takes to go and challenge those guys? And then, it's as much as I'm an Ipswich fan, it was a freak, wasn't it, last season?
It's not normal, is it?
Not normal. So and Leeds could be really unlucky, and Sunderland could be a freak. You don't know, but that's unlikely. And Middlesbrough, do they look like an automatic team? I don't think they do. West Brom, so it's quite easy to make the argument that they. That first place is theirs. But as you said earlier, Leeds will Leeds. Yes,
there is that, Ben. And do you know what I think as well? And I said this at the start of the season. The league's very similar in terms of more teams this season will take points off one another. Like, I went into every game week thinking Leicester are going to knock it out of the park. Ipswich will knock it out of the park. Southampton will knock it out. We will. Whereas at the minute, I can't call the games, which is a positive as well, because it means more of the teams are going to take more points of each other, which allows, if my prediction's right, Leeds' gap to grow, because I do think we are a true big test. We've got Burnley when we return. Let's see because if we beat Burnley when we return, we've already got a gap on them. I'm really, really
and that's at Ellen Road,
confident.
Joe,
It's at Ellen Road. It's at Ellen Road, I'm just confident right now.
It's a really good run of games coming up, mate. Look, Coventry, Leeds, Coventry, Norwich, Leeds, Sunderland, Leeds, and Leeds, Sheffield United. That should be really fun through. No, they're separated by the international break, aren't they? Sheffield United
October,
first back.
Isn't it?
Yeah. How have you done after the international breaks generally?
Last season we didn't go well. I got up the top, but I remember Joe mentioning it on my show last night, saying we better do better than we did last year. So I don't.
Yeah, because look, you've got Burnley off the back of one and Sheffield United off the back of the other, and I know what you mean. Farker is very momentum type manager, isn't he? He gets on long streaks, and we mentioned on these chats before the winning streaks in all his promotions at Norwich, and the big winning streak you had last season through from like mid-January. So
I think as well, Lockie, my friend, mentioned earlier about that we've got Tanaka, Solomon, Ampadu, Rodon. James is injured, but then young Charlie Crew, Ilya Gruev, Matteo Joseph, Max Vober, Junior Philpa, Brendan Aronson, Willie Nonto, all on international duty.
Jeez, how many is that? Like 15 or something?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Man. And then at Burnley, James Trafford maybe, but Joe Worrell, Esteve, Humphreys, you've got no Brownhill, no. So they might actually be in better shape because I look at, like, let's say Tanaka, he's going to be older in Asia, isn't he? You know what I mean? He playing for Japan. So even Darlow's got called up to Wales. So,
I like that comment in there. Why is it called a break? That's
exactly.
Never a truer word spoken. But Joe, we just said we got to use the squad, and there's two, and Farker is smart. And if he knows people are going well, then he'll be outlining, okay, period. Look, you're going to start against Burnley. Get yourself ready. You got 2 weeks, or whoever's spare. But we can't sit here, Joe, on the one hand and eulogize about Leeds' excellent squad,
Exactly.
And, because in context with everybody else, apart from Burnley, who you just happen to be playing, in context with everybody else, it's a better squad. But would you rather have international class players that are going away or not international class players?
Yeah, that's what I said to my friend. It said it's the price you pay of having a good team in it at the end of the day. If you got a good team, they're going to be internationals. So it is what it is. Well, Ben, do you want to tell people, because I've was just eulogizing to Ben prior to us coming on, of me now adding the Championship Check-In podcast to my weekly Championship podcast. Do you want to tell people about that and what you yourself have got planned over the international break, if anything at all? Because it's a tough period for us content creators, I find.
Yeah, first world problems. There's no football to talk about, is it? No, so what Joe's talking about is the Championship Check-In podcast, which is a show I do with Sam Parkin, who you will have heard really getting busy last week. He was on Sky Co-Com's for Ipswich Fulham and for Luton versus QPR, which we've just spoken about. But as much as I love chopping it up with Joe and, we're on a level and we're just fans with big gobs, frankly, it's great to speak to Sam, and it's an ex-player who's been in dressing rooms and played hundreds of games. So I think it's a good combination. When you can get a player who can string a sentence together, like as much as we love and admire these people. So yeah, check out the Championship Check-In podcast, which we film every Monday over on the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel, and we shall probably stick some clips out for that, and maybe I'll review some of the things I said at the start of the season, Joe. And I don't know how you found it, but with a transfer window being right before a round of games, I just focused on the games, so I haven't really spoken a lot about the transfer window either.
Yeah, I think. I speak about it all the time. I'm just glad it's over, Ben, the transfer window. But we'll get a real look at what the squad makeups look like, won't we, now? Because we won't be, it'll be no transfer talk until January, which will be soon here before we know it, to be honest.
So, Joe, can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
Were you losing your head in the, when the players were leaving, and there's a couple of misjudged quotes from the not the Red Bull guys, the 49ers guys that weren't too clever. And look, I know we say it all the time, and I use this in the most loving way, the cult of Leeds United fans, but the mood can swing wildly. Were you in the calm? Because I was trying to tell people to calm down. It's going to be okay. Do you understand why the mood swung wildly?
Yeah. I get called bipolar Joe sometimes.
We're not laughing at anybody.
No.
Serious bipolar. By the way.
I went on a real journey. I think as a fan, losing Gray was a.
Robbie says Joe was losing it. He was crying. They're burying you in the chat.
Oh, they are, because they know. Because I was, I was really angry over Archer because didn't think that would happen. So we lost Archie Gray. And then, we got the Red Bull investment. We were told this will be the difference between buying and selling a player. Well, we sold everyone. So we were like, well, what the fuck's that about?
And then you're on your Twitter doing David Brent. What's your chairman called? What's his name?
Parag Marathi, the bullshit.
You're doing David Brent. You're stirring the pot, Jay. He's terrible. Bury him in the chat again, guys.
That is so good, though, when he goes, so there's some guy having a meeting in Leeds, and then it cuts to him saying, yeah, I do contracts in my sleep. I was like, this is too easy. This is too easy. So yeah, it was rough. It was tumultuous. It was up and down. And to be honest, even Farker after the game against Hull was not happy. Still shots back because he didn't get that 10. No. And I think we were still frustrated because we'd bid for Hamer. We tried to get Ronan Salai from Freiburg. They still didn't get one. And you mentioned that money that we earned. It's like, well, you could have just pushed that envelope that little bit further.
Have you seen all that data, Joe, with the top incoming transfer numbers? Leeds are right up there in Europe, actually, aren't they?
Yeah. We'd made the most. So it's like, but we've got more than enough. Look at
and I'd imagine there's headroom in January as well, probably. When that's the time where you can really kill the opposition. If you're in if you're in a head-to-head race and you see someone dropping 8 million quid on a player, and it's like, oh man, what am I supposed to do?
I would have loved us to get Gus Hamer, Ben. If we'd have got Gus Hamer,
he's a baller, isn't he? Yeah.
I was saying, if we get Gus Hamer, tell the rest of the league to end now. Like, we've already won it. Do you know what I mean?
Joe, you can imagine, you can draw a real parallel with Emi Buendia and Daniel Farker and Gus Hamer and Daniel Farker. That would have been a pretty damn good partnership, doesn't it?
And it'd have been great to see Wilder go into, full meltdown mode. That'd be nice.
Wilder.
Yeah. Just to finish up, Sol Bamba, obviously we lost.
Oh, mate.
I know, at 39, Ben, it really, really took, because I'm only 36, right? I know there's some that are older than him, but I was like, wow.
Yeah, I'm older than 39, yeah.
I didn't want to just in case.
No, mate,
I thought it, Ben. I thought it, Ben.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so sad, just so sudden. I know he'd have his issues with cancer, but he's a bit of an EFL legend, really, having captained like a lot of teams down there, Leeds being one of them, and a proper gent. Whenever he spoke really well, and yeah, it was gutting, wasn't it? When was it Sunday night? I think it was. Was it Saturday or Sunday night? I forget my days. It was Saturday night, wasn't it? Late Saturday night when we found the news. So, absolutely gutted, mate.
What are your memories of him playing at Leeds?
Well, he was a real light in the dark times. It was when we had Cellino. We didn't have a sponsor on the shirt at that time. We had some wild Serie B players come in that Cellino just assumed would be able to just rock it in the Championship. And he was a real rock at the back. He was captain at the time. I remember him taking Cellino to task in the local press about some of the way he'd operated and stuff as well. So he was a bit of a mouthpiece for the fans at that time. A proper gent. I was there at that Wolves game when he actually scores that thunder strike. He actually runs to the cop, and I say it really cornerly, but it was into my arms, Ben, because I ran down my stairs and I was at the front, and he actually ran in, and then everyone piles on. So I have really, really fond memories of him, and like I say, it was a real light in what was. I mean, on the video that I tweeted out of that goal, the stadium's empty, Ben. I went to a midweek Carabao Cup game. We played Blackburn at the weekend. I went to a midweek Carabao Cup game against Blackburn. So it was a midweek game. The weather was shit, Leeds was shit, and we just played him at the weekend. There's about 12,000 there, Ben. Yeah. At Elm Road. 12,000. 7,000, or, it was really poor. And he was like a real shining light. Like, you think about Leeds now, the season ticket waiting lists in the thousands. You couldn't even get people through the gates. Do you know what I mean? So it was a totally different time, and a great guy, man. Good.
And that's all you want in the bad times, don't you? You're not talking about, and this is with obviously the greatest respect to Sol Bamba. You're not talking about technical Pablo Hernandez type players. You're just talking about the guys who are going to carry you through and kind of stand up. And as someone that covers the league, and there's lots of mentions for Neil Warnock signing him, and just being promoted with him at Cardiff. And then I think the thing that really made me the most sad is that he'd come back from it before and actually played the game, which is an incredible story. And I think the problem, and I get very emotional talking about it, but my hero is Marcus Stewart. He's my favourite ever Ipswich player. And the fact that guy has got motor neurone disease now, and I know you do a lot for kind of mental health causes and stuff, Joe, but I think we forget these guys. They're our heroes, but they're bloody human. They're just as susceptible to cancer or motor neurone disease as we are. And in some respects, they're even more susceptible. So, they are our heroes. But, they'll fall just as quickly as us. And it's just so sad. But it's some great comments in the chat as well.
You mentioned, you mentioned Warnock, and it did make me chuckle because someone tweeted out where he was saying he was better than Virgil van Dijk. He went, Virgil's better on the ball, but he's not a better defender. And I was like, oh, God.
Head it, kick it, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's all right on the ball, but he's not a better defender. I was like, God, man. But great memories of him. Ben, Listen, thanks. So, listen, and I keep telling people as well, regardless of the stat, Ipswich, I said they're going to stay up. Don't you worry,
He just likes the left-hand side of Leif Davis and Jack Clark, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't he?
How's Jack Clark got on?
So Jack Clark is absolutely brilliant, Joe, because maybe the
what about Calvin as well? We forgot about Calvin.
Stop it, mate. I'm having a field day with the Ipswich. I've renamed him Calvin effing Phillips, and it's like spreading around the whole fan base now. Weirdly, people are suspicious of him because he's like been at Man City and didn't do very well at West Ham. And I almost have to say to my fellow beloved Ipswich fans, do you realise, well, we've been crap for 20 years. That guy was winning the title and playing for England in the Euros final. You have got no right to judge that guy. But anyway, Jack Clark gets it on the left wing. And I'm like, do it, Jack. Go on. Run inside and shoot with your right foot like you do every time. And in he goes. And he just bent it round the post. But yeah, we've had Nathan Broadhead in that position. And Clark just physically is just he's a beast, isn't he? For his pace and whatnot. And as I've said to you,
really well, haven't you, Ben? You've bought really well.
It's hard to say, mate. The gap is just so massive. You like play against Fulham, and they've probably got 10 players they signed for 30 million or so, and they're the teams that are in the middle of the table. So it's just so difficult, isn't it? But
2 winnable games coming up for you, haven't you? 2 winnable games, is it?
Well, we've got Brighton, which we'll probably lose. Southampton,
right? That's
Southampton. I was one for last season, and then we've got Villa. But Villa played Bayern Munich in the Champions League straight after. So we're hoping they're not constructed. There's a bit in October where there's like Leicester and Forest, I think. Yeah.
Leicester, rubbish. Locks is in the chat, but Leicester are rubbish. Yeah, this is his new... He just hates Leicester, Ben. That's why he wants Ipswich to stay. This is his new channel. Yes. No, I don't hate Leicester. I hate you. I'm joking. I don't.
Hero,
but yeah, listen, I do think Southampton and Leicester are already doomed. You have to hope that Everton continue to be as bad as they are, and I think they'll stay up.
Surely Everton aren't going to get fewer than 35 points, Joe, are they?
That's the thing, innit? They always start like this, by the way. They do always start like this, Everton. And then the crowd get behind them, and then they get some good results at Goodison, and they just score buff. You know?
Yeah, that's the concern. We just got to keep tracking that 1 point per game. You see, I remember when, even like with Jesse Marsh, you had the odd, like you won at Liverpool, didn't you? You had the odd... Bang.
Worst thing to ever happen to us, that, you know.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You've got to, at some point, win a massive surprise game, haven't you? Because if you're just going to, you know, there's 3 or 4... It'd be like last season where, you know, the 3 teams at the bottom were basically capable of beating each other and lost to the entire rest of the league, yeah?
What did you think when Sammy Schmorix put you 1-0 up against City at the Etihad? Were you still like... Hey. And we're going to get bad. Like,
Can I tell you something? I'm sure your guys in the chat will understand this. So I was driving, actually up your neck of the woods. I was driving to a place called Ripon near Harrogate, right up north. So I was on the A1, and I don't know about the guys in the chat. I sometimes I don't want to know. I'm like, just get the game, and I'll get too nervous if I'm listening. And I very safely, while I was driving, just saw a WhatsApp message, you know, without breaking any laws whilst I was driving. And I was notified that Ipswich had taken the lead. And then I kind of laughed to myself. I thought, I'll check in 15 minutes. They'll probably be 5-1 down or something. And they were 3-1 down. So honestly, look, if it had been any other team, you'd be like, oh my God. But when it's De Bruyne and Haaland and, you know.
I triple captained Haaland in that game.
Piss off, Joe. You deserve everything that's coming to you then.
I'd read that last season and the season before he got hat-tricks against newly promoted sides, and I thought, he's the
master, isn't he? Absolutely destroyed us, to be fair. But come on, you've gone from League One a couple of seasons ago to the best manager, the best striker, the best creative player, the team with the most money who's won the league 6 times in 7 years. What do you expect, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's true. Ben, it's been great to chat to you as always, mate. I really enjoy our chats. Always make me smile and cheer me up, so that's always good. Please go check out Benjamin Bloom's channel as well. It's in the title, folks, so you don't even need to.
Should we do a bit of a count, Joe? I need some subscribers from over here.
Oh, go on then. Come on.
39,119. Surely that can go up by a few today.
I think so.
Push us up. We're getting closer to 40,000, and
which
we
is
know.
Amazing, by the way.
Thanks, buddy. We know Joe has massive numbers watching these shows, so go and hit some. Even if you're going to mute me,
we have 734. We have 734 currently, so we need to.
So when I call the Leeds fans a cult in a loving way, that's mental. It's just good. Insane, isn't it? Yeah.
Good. I tell you, the transfer window, I had like 2.5K watching, and then when the transfer when the transfer window ended, Ben, and the game on Saturday, I looked, on your analytics, it'll tell you what you've done over the last 48 hours. Have you seen that?
I'm waiting to hear the punchline.
Oh, 118. 118. I put it on my Instagram. I was like, I can't. Yeah. So,
Leeds tax.
Yeah, Leeds tax. We always take more.
I've got one bone to pick with Leeds fans, right? Every time I put a Leeds goal in my Worldie of the Week poll, the Leeds fans bloody just completely bully the vote, whether it's the best goal or not. Yeah. So what I'm going to do as an experiment is I'm going to wait for Leeds to score some muggy little deflected tap-in or something and put it in Worldie of the Week and see if like 60% of the votes still come from Leeds fans, because we know what you're doing, Leeds fans.
I always love it when it's, I think it was Preston, when it's a rival team put up out a poll that's open to any fan base. So like, I think we'd played Preston and Jermaine Beckford came on. And you
made him their player of the year or something.
And then we gave him man of the match. And they had to veto it because he was getting booed, because when he came on, he started like really getting into the Jermaine Beckford like that, and he started getting into it. So Preston fans were fuming. And then we went and voted for him man at match, which didn't go down well.
It's naughty. It's naughty.
It's fun though, isn't it?
That's how you get bad karma in playoff games. Is all I'm saying, Joe. Yeah,
and that's why everyone hates us. But unfortunately,
I don't hate you, mate. It's all good.
I know you don't. I know you don't. Yeah, no, that's fair. Right, folks, make sure you go over and subscribe to Benjamin Bloom's YouTube channel. He's a massive advocate of Leeds United. There's no one better in the game when it comes to championship stuff. So make sure you go check him out. We'll leave it there. So smash a like on the way out, subscribe to Ben, subscribe to me, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm actually going to be chatting with this lad here just to check in with Locks. We did a lot together last season.
Chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just ribbing on him because they're terrible. And yes, I'm in the championship, but I don't care. They're terrible. Anyway, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Bye-bye.